House podcast, episode 13. And my guest today is a drummer and host of the Explicit Materia podcast. You can catch him live on Twitch every Monday at 12 p.m. Central. Please welcome WiseDrums.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. This is going to be random, but I always like to kind of kick off the show with like a nice random question.
I love it. Let's go. I'm here for it.
Do you happen to have a fear of bears by any chance?
Oh my god. Uh, it's funny. Me and my wife are actually going to go on vacation to Yellowstone, in September, and so I have never seen a bear up close before. That's not in a zoo setting. So
Yeah.
you should ask me that question again after the fact.
Yeah.
But bears, like, they don't keep me up at night. No. What does keep me up at night though are wasps and hornets.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently they're the same thing. I don't know. It's just some people got upset with me for asking a question like, do wasps offer any benefit to the ecosystem? People were very upset with me. Some people were about that question. I was like, where are all these hornet advocates coming from? Like,
People are very sensitive with bees and hornets because I think
bees
they
are okay. Bees are okay
yeah,
because they
yeah,
pollinate. That is their purpose in life. If they sting
yes.
someone, they die. So they don't go out to sting people. That's against evolution. Wasps, on the other hand, I needed to know. I needed to know, like, what's their purpose? Are they just there to be assholes, or they do other things? Like, and that's not it's a fairly innocuous question. I felt like, because my 37 years of living on this planet, I never come across a person that was like, dude, you hate hornets? How dare you? Like,
Well,
never.
in the times that we're living in, I think now, like there is like nothing that you can say now. Everything is protected. Everything has a community ready to be defended. So
But it's like, what I said this, I was like, out of all the communities on the internet I could have pissed off, like, out of all of them, I got the hornet community. Like, what?
oh no.
Yeah.
That will get you canceled for sure, man.
I
The
mean,
Hornet
I was waiting
community is
for it.
vicious. Yeah.
I was waiting for me to be on CNN the next night and be like,
I
local
avoid all
TikTok.
Hornet commentary on my podcast, so just trying to be safe here. But it's funny too that we're talking about this because the other day I was trying to look up the purpose of cockroaches. I'm like, what the hell is the purpose of these fuckers?
Yeah,
Like they're the worst. I hate them so much. I live in the South and we get these like weird ones.
dude,
And
same here.
anyways,
Nashville,
yeah,
Tennessee. Yeah,
yeah, there you go. And I'm in Georgia, and we get something that's like similar looking to a roach, but isn't. I don't know what the heck it is, but
it's
at
an
any rate,
alien. It's an alien
it's got
species.
it's got to be. That's the only valid explanation. But apparently, they do serve a purpose. They just eat up a bunch of waste and garbage, which is so fitting for a cockroach. I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
That makes total sense. It's similar to, like, I guess it's similar to rats because they just eat everything,
Right?
and they're pests because of it. So we're cockroaches. So that makes sense. But yeah, hornets on the other hand, no, I declare war on them. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if that puts me at odds at the hornet community. Like,
There's going
go
to be no
get
cockroach community, though. I think there's nobody defending roaches. I mean, come
you.
on.
Hey, man, wait till this podcast comes out. You're gonna get them. You're gonna
I
get
think
the
I'm
heat.
getting a tweet right now.
This
Oh my
just
gosh.
in. They've already infiltrated the podcast. That's not even out yet.
Yeah, right. It's not even being live streamed. Somehow they know, you know. So crazy. Now I got another random question for you. Did
Mhm.
you happen to play football when you were young? And was it in high school or prior to that?
Ooh, that is a good question. I played a little bit. My first foray into actual playing the sport football. My parents were our football family. My mom is a Packers fan. My dad's a Chiefs fan,
Oh
and
wow.
um, and I'm a New York Giants fan. So,
Me
and
too.
yeah, really? Oh my God!
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome, man. This year, hopefully, we're gonna go in the right direction. I don't know. I don't know
Hopefully,
about
it's been a
Daniel
little
Jones.
rough lately.
I
Yeah,
don't know about
yeah.
Daniel Jones yet. We guess we'll find out. Anyway, um, so fourth grade was my first time ever like playing the actual sport of football, and I did it like it was my first game. I actually intercepted a ball, and that feeling was amazing. Like to
Oh
actually
yeah,
intercept the ball, and I think like I was never the cool kid in like school, but that moment, like a bunch of other cool kids, like at school, kind of like up their respect for me after I did the interception. Like, oh, this kid can play
sure.
a little bit. We're still gonna kick his ass after school, but like, good job
Yeah.
for that one part. And then I played in high school. I was second string running back and first string linebacker.
Wow. That's
Eh,
awesome, dude.
yeah. And then I stopped playing to pursue my career in music. As much as my mother did not want me to do that, she wanted me to play football and join the Green Bay Packers because why? That's what every mother wants.
So you'd say she was like your big influence for playing football?
Oh, both of them were. Like
Oh, both.
we
Okay.
we didn't go to church on Sunday. It was football. That's the day. You had friends come over, like
Yeah.
Packers. My mom's like the biggest Favre fan. She's such a Favre fan that when he left to join Minnesota Vikings, which is a sin, like it was
Sure.
big news. You're as a rival team, you don't do that, and Favre did it specifically to stoke the flames of the Green Bay Packers because he was pissed at them. Um, and she was a Minnesota Vikings fan for those years. She hated how the Packers treated Favre. She hated that,
Wow.
so she shunned the Packers and
Oh my
was a
gosh.
Vikings fan since then. Yeah, that's how big of a football family my parents are, and my dad's a huge Chiefs fan, and he's just loving the current generation right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He's just
Yeah. He
loving
had to
life.
get through some rough years, but now, now's the time, right?
I mean, he's got Patrick Mahomes to for the foreseeable future. He's gonna be all right.
Oh, yeah. That's very true. So why the Giants? I mean, for me, I grew up in like the New York and New Jersey area, but I'm just curious.
So, I was a toddler, and my parents, being a football family, realized that I needed a football team. And so, as a toddler, the team that was playing, and I think they were on their way to the Super Bowl that year, if I remember correctly, it was '87. I think, if that makes sense, it was
Mhm.
87 or 90, whatever, 91. I can't remember when the Giants went to the Super Bowl in the '80s or '90s, but um, I was looking at the TV the Giant was playing, and I liked their colors, so I was like, I like them. And then from that point on, I was a Giants fan. That
Wow.
was just all right. You're a Giants fan now. There's I've been to New York maybe three times in my four times in my life.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no I don't have any special connection to New York. It's just they've just been that's my team.
I went through a phase where I was like a St. Louis Rams fan. And I think honestly it was just because when I was in middle school, I was just like bandwagoning on whatever team was good. At the time they had like a pretty solid team and
Oh,
I
is
loved
that
their
Kurt Warner? Was
logo.
that the Kurt Warner days?
Kurt Warner, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when they were in the Super Bowl against Patriots and then after like a couple years of liking the Rams, I'm like, what am I doing? I live in New York. I should be a Giants fan. My brothers are Giants fans, so then I'm like, okay, back on the
Yeah,
Giants
and
then.
I just like the Giants like fan community because they're so loud, and I just love
Oh yeah,
like the New York accent and the New York attitude. Even though I've never been like I'm not from New York at all, but I have friends who are from New York, and they're just passionate about anything. I have a
yeah.
friend, his name is Lou Vecchio. He plays for New Politics, and they're from New York. Actually, two of them are from Denmark, and then he's from New York. But he just like he'll bring out that New York accent, like, "Hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Um,
Hey, like, and it's just I love it. I love it.
my New York accent definitely comes out, and people in the South will definitely make it a point mid conversation to me that it's like coming out when I say certain words.
Like quota and coffee.
Quarter, yeah, like when I go up to him and I'm like, I'm walking here, things like that.
When you almost get hit by a taxi, you get flashbacks from New York.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh my gosh, exactly. But what was I gonna say here too? When was it? When the Giants were making like this big playoff run. I think it was like in '07, '08 when they won the two Super Bowls against the Pats. Didn't
Yeah.
along the way, didn't they face the Packers at Green Bay
Yes, they did. They beat him in the NFC Championship game, if I remember correctly.
in the snow, I think. So
Yeah.
that must have been interesting
Well, at that
between
time, yeah, it was interesting because at that time I'd already moved away from my parents. My parents at the time were living in Las Vegas, which was our home for the longest time. But I moved here to
yeah.
Nashville in 2005, and so in 2007 I was here for already 2 years, and so that during that championship game, of course, my mom was like, I love you, son, but you, I'm gonna have to hate you for these next 3 hours. I'm like, absolutely, mother. I totally understand. I love you
Right.
too.
That's funny. Yeah, that oh man, those both of those Super Bowls were just unbelievable. Just
I mean,
so crazy how they pulled that off. Eli breaking out of that freaking potential sack and Tyree making that catch. It was just unbelievable.
it was it was the best Super Bowl I've ever watched for multiple reasons for me anyway, but like for a bunch of other people that were watching it because like at that time the Patriots and still to this day probably, but not as much anymore since, Brady's left, but when they were on top of the world and no one could stop them. And it
No
just
one.
seemed like even though they didn't have any draft capital, they were still like getting like these great new players and you're just like, what the hell is going on? Like
Yeah.
there's why are they still so good? And they were just dominating and they were so like kind of like, yeah, we're awesome. We're Boston. Yeah. And so every other team was like, come on, Giants. Come on, just pull it out because we just want them to be humiliated. And sure enough,
Right.
they pulled it out. Twice, mind you, they
Twice.
pulled it. They felled the giant. Pun intended. They felled the giant twice, and I'm so proud of that moment,
Great
even though
halftime
I had
show,
nothing to
that
do with it.
first one. They yeah, right. They had Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers too. And I'm watching that halftime show sweating like balls because the game was so close. And but also still enjoying it because it was an awesome show. But yeah, just so good.
Yeah, it was one of the best years of my life because that year too, if I remember correctly, that was also the same. Oh, okay, no, it was a year later that my band, the band that I was in, got signed to Red Bull Records. So it was just like one awesome thing after another. Is like this isn't real life. This is a dream. I'm not. Someone pinch me. This is amazing. Like my team goes to the Super Bowl and beats the Patriots out of all the teams and stops their undefeated run. And then we just get signed to Red Bull Records and we're gonna make a record in LA and we're gonna tour with we're gonna go on Warp Tour for 2.5 months. Like, what is going on? It was a wonderful time of my life.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Warp Tour, I definitely wanted to ask you about that. What was that like touring Warp Tour?
Okay. Well, for those, so when you go on a regular tour, there's a common misconception that the bands like to just like party all the time and go and visit the city and stuff like that. That's not how it goes. Like you have a very specific window to get to the venue, and once you get to the venue, you don't have a lot of time to go out and party. Like,
Right.
and you're also too tired after the show to do that. It's depending on how old you are. If you're like 18, yeah, you probably, go a little crazy, but at that time we were in our late 20s. And so, on a regular show, you don't have a lot of room to do it. On Warp Tour, you have nowhere to go. You are there at the location until you get back on the bus that night to go to the next location, play the next day. And you don't
Yeah.
know your set time. You don't know your set time until that morning. So
Oh wow.
they post each band's set time every morning at 9 or 7 in the morning, and the earliest that you would play is I believe 10 o'clock in the morning. And so there's nothing to do besides walk around the grounds or wherever the park or wherever you are, hang out the bus, and drink a lot.
Sure.
Or not. What's interesting about Warped Tour is that they had like it was awesome because they had catering every day, and It was just kind of like it was a band camp. It was literally band camp. Just walking around and meeting all these other bands, and it's kind of intimidating at first because there were some big name bands like the Used play there the same time we played, like Guar played, um, just a bunch of other amazing bands that I grew up listening to, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm here with this is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but there was also like uh, uh, what is it? Not AAA. It's not AAA. Something anonymous. What is it? For drinkers have
Oh,
problems.
AA, right?
AA. Okay, it's not
Yeah.
AAA. It's AA. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they had AA at Warped Tour too, because it's just a bunch of bands, and people who in bands often have issues. So it was really
Right.
cool that they would have meetings posted, like, hey, we're having a meeting today. Get your buddy and stuff like that. So I thought that was
Wow.
pretty like interesting. And it's because I'm finally on tour after years of dreaming about this moment. And I'm thinking, you grow up watching like Motley Crue and Metallica and the just shenanigans and the craziness, drugs and nothing like that. There was a magic table that people would play at. Like,
Oh
we're
my
just all a
gosh.
bunch of nerds that happen to be musicians.
Right.
And so it was like just super fun. It was just a really fun little tour. A little trying at times, because you're literally, that's what you do. You wake up, you play, hang out, go back to sleep, ride the bus that night, wake up, do the same thing over and over until 2.5 months. So it's cool, but it could be like there were times I'm just like, okay, I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah, I can imagine. And your wife got to tour with you, right?
Yeah, she got to come. She got to come 2 times out of that whole 2.5 month. She got to come out for a week or two each time, so she got to experience it. Because when I was on the when I went on the road and she was here, it was I would tell her like, yeah, we're just having a few drinks, and that I was telling her I was drinking a lot, and like she didn't know, she wasn't experiencing what I was doing, because literally there's nothing for you to do. You play your show and that's it. There's
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's they have a barbecue at every night, and then that's you just hang around. There's nothing else to do. um and so she was like, babe, I'm a little worried about you. I'm like, babe, I there's no other way for me to explain it to you. What you will understand when you get here. Okay. And
Yeah.
so when she finally arrives and she's like, she finally gets it, like, oh, I totally understand now. This is, you just hang out all day, and
Right.
it's with the same group of people over and over and over again, and you can't leave the grounds, you can't do anything. So you're like, well, here's a beer. I'm like, okay, this will make everything entertaining.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool that she got to experience it firsthand.
Yeah, all of the I was well, none of us were married at the time. But she was my fiance at the time. I asked her to marry me before I went on that tour,
Oh wow.
and yeah, it was yeah.
Did you have like something special like planned for your
I did.
proposal or
I
anything? Yeah.
probably was. I had some like idea in my but I'm such an idiot. Like, okay, so my plan was I was gonna get the ring. Okay, I was gonna get the ring. And then after I have the ring in my possession, I'll figure out a plan. Okay, so my wife had to stay home from work because she felt ill that day, which was not a part of the plan of me getting the ring. Okay, because I
Right.
was planning. I had the day off, and she was going to work that day, but she had to stay home. So I'm like, crap. All right, so now I have to make up an excuse of me leaving the house. So
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to Nate's house and pick up some drum equipment or whatever. And so I was like, okay, cool. She bought it. So I go and get the ring with a friend, purchase the ring, bring it back home, and this is why I'm such a bad liar, which is actually great for our relationship. Um, because she knows I'm not doing anything shady.
Yeah.
Because she'll know. um, so she, so I walk through, I walk through the door, uh, ring hidden in my back pocket, and she goes, "So where's the piece of equipment you were gonna get?" Fuck. So
Oh
now I'm
no.
panicking. So
Yeah.
now I'm because I don't have the thing. I don't have the thing that I said I was going to get. So I'm like, and so I make up something, and she knows something's up because I'm not good at making stuff up on the fly or lying in general.
Yeah.
So she's like, "What's going on?" Now she's like worried, like something, what is going on? And so I'm like, "All right, I guess I'm gonna do this right here on the stairs." And so
Oh.
I was like, "Okay, here we go." I was gonna plan something, but this is kind of unexpected. I did not
Wow.
realize you're gonna grill me on where I was. She didn't even grill me. Like she just asked a completely normal question of like, "Where's the thing that you were gonna get?" And I freaked out. Um, and so yeah, I just popped the question there. I was like, "I love you. You're amazing. You've supported me through all this craziness of me being in bands, and we're finally doing this, and I could not, want to be doing this with anybody else. I did something more romantic than that, but it was like, it, you know, right there on the staircase in our pajamas.
Oh, that's amazing, man.
Yeah,
That's great. It doesn't
yeah.
get more natural than that,
I mean,
just in your
really, that's kind
pajamas
of
and
like, yeah, that's kind of like how our dynamic is anyway. We've just been hanging out for God, since 2007.
yeah,
So that's how long we've been together. We've been married since 2014, but been together, for that long, and it's been easy. It
right.
hasn't there hasn't been any crazy unnecessary expectations with well, a lot of relationships do. We just kind of like take everything's day by day, and
Sure.
we're a great team, and that's what you need
That's
to be
awesome.
when you're
Yeah,
in a relationship.
absolutely. Yeah. I'm actually jealous of how you popped the question because for me, with my fiance, I had to do it in front of like 60 people at
Oh
her
Jesus!
surprise birthday party in our new house. So this was last August. I'm like shaking. Thankfully, like her sister was able to like talk me down and just get me pumped up and ready for it. And I just hate having to do anything in front of that many people. And but it was nice too because it was all her best friends and family. So I knew this had to be the day that I was gonna do
Yeah,
it. You know,
I mean
so
that's quite brave of you.
I mean, I even like with the weeks leading up, I ordered the ring online. It was being shipped from New York. I'm checking the tracking every day. I'm like, please, please, do not let this thing get lost. And but it all worked out, thankfully, and but man, let me tell you, doing that in front of so many people, I was like, oof, that was a tough one for me.
Yeah, it kind of worked out for me in the end, so I didn't have to like figure something like that out because I'm not really good with that stuff anyway. Like I used to be a big romantic when I was a kid, like and teenager, but then I kind of grew up and like, oh, this is what real love is. Real love is not any of that. Like real
Right.
love is
Yeah.
like being a good teammate for you and your partner, and just being there for each other every single day. And
Exactly.
the little things, like the little things add up, and paying attention to those as much as you possibly can. Obviously things fall through the cracks depending on how long you are together, but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
That's what makes you look at old couples that are just like, they obviously love each other, but they hate each other too. Like it's kind of like that love hate thing. You're like, I want that. That's what I want. They're just like they just there. They just they have each other. They're like a symbiotic, entity.
Right.
And that's what I feel like. That's what love is anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I could see that, man. That's real true love right
That is true
there.
love, man.
Right?
It
Yeah.
really is. Like it drives me crazy when people want like this grand romantic gesture, which is great. That's wonderful. But like, I feel like people require that now.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't feel like because that's not anyone can do a grand romantic gesture. It's
Sure.
but can you stop what you're doing every single morning to make coffee for your loved one every morning? Will you take on their baggage with little to no qualms because you love them that much?
Yeah. Will
Like
you buy like a cloud sword for them if they ask you for it? These are the true tests of love.
true, that is very true.
So I got to ask you, man, about your phenomenal Mega Man drum set. Holy shit, dude. When I saw that, I was like, I'm not even a drummer and I need to have this. And even but even before we get into that, we need to take it back one layer further down.
Hmm.
And I got to ask you about your Mickey Mouse drum set when you were 4.
So so I grew up with a musical family. My parents were traveling musicians. My dad's an Elvis impersonator, and
Yes.
my mother sang with him and still does to this day. They're still together. And so,
And he
music
was
has
on
always,
TV too.
yeah,
So
he's been,
freaking cool.
you know, a whole bunch, man. I'm actually impressed. Actually impressed that you actually knew that.
You're the
But
guest
yeah,
of honor, man.
yeah, he's been on like Oprah and like a bunch of other stuff, and mainly because like he actually had physical alterations to his face to make himself look a little bit more like Elvis. Um, but I don't know if this is in the Guinness Book of World Records anymore, but there was a year where they had most tributes paid to Elvis Presley. And my dad was in the Guinness Book of World Records for most shows dedicated to Elvis.
That's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, and so he's been doing it for way before I was born. So anyway, my parents got me a little Mickey Mouse drum set, and I was just pounding away at that thing. And so my mom says that this might be just mom speak, like, oh, my boy is so special.
Yeah.
Um, but she used to say, she says to me that when I was in her belly, when she was pregnant with me on stage as she was singing, she said that I was kicking with the beat of the bass drum. I don't know how
Wow.
real that is. I don't, but apparently when I came out, I had really strong legs because of it. So that's, I don't know how true that is. I do not know how true that is,
I
but
think you should own that, man. That is the coolest. Like, if I was a drummer, I would want that as my like origin story. Like, I was freaking kicking to the beat of drums when I was in the womb. Damn it! Like, like I'd be like, yeah, that was 100% true.
yeah. And actually, I don't. I think I misspoke earlier. I don't think my dad was actually on Oprah. There's another talk show like back in the day before. It wasn't. Yeah. Any like I forget what it is. Anyway.
The video that
Um.
I'm sorry, the video that I saw, the person that was interviewing your dad said that he was on Oprah and a few other talk shows, unless I don't know if maybe
I
he
would.
got
Okay.
that
Well then,
info,
good.
but
It's just been so long since I've actually said that piece. So like I
yeah.
and it's been so long since my dad like spewed about his accolades. I mean, but yeah, like he's great, man. And what's great about my, I know this is not part of the question, but just say like my great about my dad, what I was inspired by him, later on in life, is just like he loved to entertain people. Like he still loves to entertain people. Like that's
Yeah,
was his, and he found a love, he found a passion, which was Elvis, and he used that passion to entertain people who were also passionate about Elvis. So
sure.
I'm doing a similar thing with video games. I just realized.
I mean, yeah, yeah.
you
It's
know.
entertainment. You're entertaining, you know.
But yeah, oh yeah. So my little, but I didn't take drums seriously until I was like 16. Like
Oh, okay.
I had a real my first real drum set when I was 13, or is it yeah, like 13. And I would play with my buddy, my best friend from time to time because he was a guitar player. But it wasn't until we were 16 that we decided like let's make a band. Let's do the band thing because that seems like a really cool lottery ticket
Yeah,
into awesome life. And so we did. We just that's when we started pursuing being in bands and get better at our instruments and the band life. And then from from that point on, I was like, I'm gonna be a musician. That's what I want. I want that. That's my dream. I'm gonna tour. I'm gonna make a record. I'm gonna you know be a rock star, man. I'm gonna make it.
right.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
And so the Mega Man drum set, which you're referencing, is there's a funny story to that actually. That my first drum set got burned down in a fire.
Oh my
And a
god.
bunch of stuff got burned down in a fire. Not the whole house, but it was in the shed. And so we got insurance money for that, and so we bought. I had money to pay for a custom drum set, and I'm like, wow. And there was this company called SJC, I think they're based out of Massachusetts anyway, but they custom make any like design on a drum set, and they have like a disco ball drum set. They had like a Legend of Zelda drum sets. It was like
Oh
really
wow.
cool. Like like you can have like a acrylic or maple, like anything you want, basically.
Yeah,
And so I designed my drum set. I wanted it to be half maple and half acrylic. The acrylic would be a red stripe. I want lights in it. And I want the head to have Mega Man X pointing the Mega Blaster at the hole where you put the mic in. And sure
that's
enough,
so
they did it.
cool.
It has a little custom made wooden Mega Man 8-bit emblem on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so it was just like when I saw the first pictures of that drum set, I was like, oh, it's
I can
like I.
imagine.
It was so, and just getting that I just remember getting it in the mail and it just the giant boxes that we had to haul up the stairs.
Oh man,
But it was just yeah. And then that it's still in my garage. It's still chilling.
that's awesome. Did
Yeah.
that same company provide the in-ear headphones that had Mega Man on
No.
them?
No, that was another company.
Oh,
That was
okay.
Ultimate Ears. Ultimate Ears did that. Which was really
Nice.
cool of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um yeah, so Ultimate Ears did that and yeah, it was yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
that's so cool, man. Yeah, and I knew it was Mega Man X right away because that is by far my favorite Mega Man game. Because I grew up playing that one and I just was obsessed with the soundtrack. Even the password theme was
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
When a password theme is good on a game, that's when you know it is legendary. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
just so catchy. I'm just like
Dude, yeah.
snapping my
It
fingers to
that
it.
that rivals Battletoads pause theme.
Yes. Oh gosh, the pause theme. Oh, no.
Like
Yeah.
it's hey, we need a it's like that new TikTok meme that goes around like, "Hey, we need a pause theme, just a really quick jingle, like nothing too hard. It doesn't have to like kick your face in." Doonch, 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 doonch. And it's like, "Yeah, we're pausing the game and
That
rocking
one
out."
TikToker has like cornered that like type of video. I think he's done like the 007 pause music, all kinds of like iconic video game themes,
Yeah,
and
well, it's just because just become such a great little shtick. Like I know of him and the other guy has red hair. He does the those skits too, and it's just like, oh man, I'm here all day for these.
oh, they're so good. And it's cool when people on TikTok assume like characters too. Like I think there's a guy that impersonates Joker on there and a bunch of stuff. Like he's got the makeup and everything. But it has me thinking, your dad would be an overnight TikTok freaking star, dude. Can you imagine him with his Elvis impersonations? Like
Well,
it would be a lock.
one of these days, I'm gonna have to like, cause well, like my dad, like he doesn't speak like he doesn't do like okay, there's a because I'm in this world just by proxy, or just by being alive. Um, so what my dad would constantly say is that he's not like a Elvis impersonator because there's a difference between like a Elvis tribute artist and an impersonator. But I would say impersonator because it's just easier for people to understand what he is. If I said tribute artist, they just think that he's just this guy that goes on stage and doesn't wear the jumpsuit, and doesn't look like Elvis because there are those tribute artists that do that. They don't exactly look like Elvis, they just sound and like, there's different tribute artists out there. So when I
Sure.
say impersonator, people understand like, oh, he's gonna don the whole get up, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like do it to like a lot of impersonators do it to sort of like poke fun at the way that Elvis talked and stuff
Hmm.
like that, which is fine. That's totally
Yeah.
fine. I mean, it's funny. It's because it's Elvis. We have that slow draw and and I
Right.
totally get it. But my dad was just he was captivated by the music of Elvis and the way that he made people feel when he was singing. Um, and so my dad doesn't really sound like he doesn't do the whole impression thing. It's not the
Yeah.
impression of Elvis. It's singing the songs that Elvis would sing and the way he sang it.
Even still, I bet even if he's just singing and doing covers, I mean, that has to be enough to amass a following, you know.
Oh yeah, my
But
dad. Yeah, I like he would still sell out the places. He hasn't done a show in a while, especially after COVID. But like before COVID, I would travel to Vegas to play for his show, and he would sell out that room every single
wow,
night. He would sell out that 650 person room every night, and he grew a following over the 30 however many years that he's been doing it. And
sure.
I think you're absolutely right though. Like if TikTok existed back in 1979 when he started doing this, like
Yeah,
I think yeah, he'd be an overnight success absolutely. And he's a little
easily.
too old for it now, but like maybe I can like go into the archives, the old Wise archives, and like find some old videos and post it
Yeah,
like make it Dennis Wise Elvis.
get that going. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to be psyched for the new Elvis movie that's coming out.
I actually haven't talked with him about it. I totally forgot that movie was coming out. Like I
Yeah.
saw I saw a trailer for it and then I didn't see it ever again. Just whoop, totally. But he's seen every Elvis movie. He's totally
Oh
seen
yeah.
every Elvis movie. Like I think yeah, it's just and his room is insane. It's got a bunch of gold records. He's got an Elvis room. It's like a library. It's like I'm sorry, a museum of Elvis. It's
Yeah.
it's quite incredible. I'm used to it now, but when people walk in, they're like, "Oh my god, this is bordering on serial killer status."
That's so cool though. Oh my gosh.
But hey, if you love something, you love something. It's like that's the same thing with video game collectors, man. That my dad was the Elvis nerd.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, if it's a passion, and for other people to like speak ill of passions, it's like get out of here.
Yeah, I think I was actually having this conversation with another TikToker named Sir Winalot, and he's fun because like he does like Twitch, streaming drums and stuff, and that's how we got to talking and stuff. And he's a gamer, and he's really popular on Twitch. Actually, he's really doing really well for himself. Anyway,
Nice.
we got into this conversation of like what makes you a gamer. Does it depend on the type of game that you're playing? And I contend that it doesn't. But that would also mean if I truly believe that, if I'm in my convictions, then that means that people who are super into, and the passion is important. That's what when you said passion, this is what's important.
Yeah.
If you are passionate about Candy Crush, wearing the shirt, you got the Candy Crush logo in your back, you got the Candy Crush, uh, you know, visor, like sun visor for your car. If you're that into Candy Crush is a video game, and you're a gamer. I'm
You
sorry,
did
I
a
cannot.
video about it, and I
Yeah,
agree because it's like who's to judge? It's like listen, if you really enjoy a game, it doesn't matter if it's a mobile game. Farmville, I don't give a crap. I just use like an ancient reference for some reason. That was the
you're
first
dating us
thing
now, man.
that popped into my head. I think because like it came up when I was coming up with video ideas. But anyways, Farmville. Uh, but
Farmville.
it's funny because I would have never thought that my fiance would be a gamer because she would just play like these Harry Potter mobile games. But then I started getting her into these puzzle games. Like we played It Takes Two together. I
Oh wow,
recommend
nice.
every couple to play that game because the story is fantastic. The gameplay is not so difficult. So if like your significant other isn't as good with like a controller or anything, it's totally like user friendly.
Hmm.
So we beat that game together recently, and then we started playing Unravel 2, which is another awesome co-op like puzzle game. Highly recommend both of those, by the way. Phenomenal games.
Yeah.
But that's my point. Is like it doesn't matter, what game you're playing.
Yeah, and also it also matters too if you are willing to identify yourself as a gamer too. Like a person could just be super into Candy Crush and not consider themselves a gamer, and then that's
Right.
fine.
Yes.
We don't have to consider them as gamers at that point because they don't consider themselves as gamers, and it's not an issue.
Yeah.
But it becomes an issue when I just like it. It's interesting to me because I don't know how old you are, but like I grew up in a time where us gamers we stuck together no matter what game we played
Mhm.
because it was it was looked down upon that you were playing games. It was looked down. It was looked at as a time waster or as a way to
Yes.
escape the real world, and you're not being a
Yes.
real human being because you're getting trapped in these fantasy worlds. That's what I grew up with, and so we'd get made fun of. We had to go through the trenches to get to where we are today. Where now
Yeah.
it's a point of pride so much that people are willing to go after other gamers because they're playing a certain game incorrectly.
Right. I
And I'm
can
like,
relate.
y'all, we're more similar than we are different, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like so I'm 31 by the way, and like when I was growing up, my dad was like he was super old school, like he didn't grow up with video games like so but he loved to buy like my brothers and I video games and it gave him a lot of joy. But then there were times where he would like bash us and be like, "Oh my god, you guys are just like this all day." And so I'm like, "You don't get it, dude. It's fine." But like
But
uh
I understand But here's to be completely open minded here. I totally understand his reaction to that because that was a
sure.
new thing. Guess what else
Yeah.
is a new thing? These. And so whenever you
Yes.
see like even me and my elder millennial looking like I'm seeing like younger kids just in their phone all day, just and I'm like, dude, there's this there's green over here. There's like a
Right.
park. There's just like you don't have to. So I get it. I understand people's like reaction to video games,
And now
but
he's
like
doing both. He's got a freaking phone and he's playing 8-ball pool, you know? So everything is just flipped on him now. So now he can't say anything. So
right.
hey, since he plays 8-ball pool, does that make him a gamer?
If
You
he
know, does
considers
he
himself one.
if he yeah, he must identify as a gamer if he plays 8-ball pool.
We got to
No.
make rules for this. We got to make if you
Yes.
consider yourself a gamer
That's the
and you
first
put it
rule.
and
Yeah.
also and I think also too like it matters like how much time and effort you put into a game
Yeah.
too. I think it's like if you played Candy Crush for like 2 hours and then just dropped it and then started considering yourself a gamer and then you can make the argument and then we can have the
Yeah.
debate. But like I think the passion and the amount of time matters rather than what actual game it is.
I want to see like a presidential style debate between a 2 hour playtime Candy Crush player versus like a 1,000 hour Elden Ring veteran. You know, I
God,
think that would be almost as good as like Biden versus Trump. Like it would
dude,
just be
that
like intense.
you totally picked like total polar opposite. Like that's amazing. I would say I get the popcorn. Get the popcorn. We're
Right?
gonna watch this because
Yeah.
like
No,
oh man,
I got to sub out actually instead of Candy Crush Farmville. We'll have a total Farmville advocate. You know, that would be. I think we would have to have that as like pay per view or
it
something.
would have to
That
be.
would be
It would have to be, and we'd have to we
amazing.
got Joe Rogan on the
Yeah,
Joe
Joe
Rogan.
Rogan's like the moderator. Oh my
He's the
gosh.
commentator, and it's
Yeah,
just yeah. He's like, oh, did you see that? The Farmville guys went right after. Oh, that was
but
crazy.
if they play Quake, he'll be on their side. That was his game.
Yes,
That's
that was
the
his game.
one game he alludes to in every episode about video games he's talked about. He's like, Quake,
Yeah,
man. He's like, I was hooked on Quake. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
okay.
everybody's got their
He
game.
gets it, man.
Yeah,
It's funny, like when he got in trouble for saying like video games is like kind of I can't remember the exact like controversy it was, but like saying like games can be a waste of time or something like that, or trying to I don't know. He's talking to someone who's like do something other than video games,
yeah,
and so like I listened to the whole thing and I was like, well, he number one, he's talking from experience. Like when he's saying that you can get addicted to it and it can take
sure.
you away from other moments of your life, which is very true.
Yeah,
Like I think, but that's with anything though. It's not just video games. It's like
yeah.
if you're passionate about something, that passion can turn into an obsession real quick.
Oh yeah,
And
easily.
video games are unique in that they are very well suited to take you away from the real world.
Sure.
And so if you don't have the mental capacity to say, okay, I need to stop and actually, go to work, you know,
Yeah,
it depends on the type of person as well. But like, like video games can be a financial thing, just like music can be.
sure.
It's just like any other sort of artsy job, or something very sought after, sort of looked at as impossible. Because the life I lived, before video games became so popular that you can actually, make money off of it now. Music was looked at, being in a band and stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's impossible. You should stop trying and get yourself a real job, go to college. And they're saying
Right.
the same thing today with like Twitch streaming. And it's very, they are probably right. Like 99% of people who are streaming on Twitch, who are doing the video game thing, the same thing that 100 million more, 100 billion people are doing. It's like, yeah, odds are you're not going to make it, man. But like, if you're passionate about it and you're fine with not making it, that's important too. You got to be
Yes.
mentally okay with the fact that you might not grow as fast as you think you will. And if you're not, like, what are you doing to fix that, if anything? I don't know.
No, you're making some solid points, man, because I saw really popular streamer XQC. Actually, I was happy that he did this. He put out a PSA on his stream saying, "Look guys, a lot of you guys look up to streamers, but you need to realize the amount of work and time it takes, and not everybody makes it." You know,
Yeah.
that's I think kids are getting a false sense of reality with Twitch. They see these streamers and they think, well, I could do that. I can totally do that, and it's definitely going to happen. And they probably get their hopes up too. But of course, it doesn't mean that it won't
Won't
happen
happen.
for them.
Yeah.
But there's so much content out there now that
Yeah.
you need to stay consistent. You need to differentiate yourself, and you need to know a lot of software. You got to be a video editor. You got to be
Yeah.
a graphic artist to make your logos, to make your thumbnails. It's just it's like 10 jobs in one.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head, and it's just like, that's just a dose of reality for any creative outlet that
Yes.
could be. I do equate, the music life with video games, because they're both in that same, like, sort of impossible dream vein, you
Hmm.
know and it just depends on, yeah, it depends on, like, how hard are you willing to work, how
Right.
how willing are you to differentiate yourself, are you willing to network, are you willing to, are you willing to do all these sorts of things to get where you need to go? Who am I? Like, I'm not like this big, influencer, like, but like, in my experience, what needs to come first is like, are you having fun? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because like, I made a decision when I started doing the live stream thing. When I started doing content creation, I wanted to be like drum covers. Like, really, I sat down. It took me a month to make a video, edit it, and do all the green screen things, and do it, like, that's what I wanted to do. But then life kind of came and kicked me in the ass, especially with the pandemic. And it's like, okay, well, now I have very little time to make content. So what do? Oh, I'll just do the live stream thing. And you know what? Like, this is super fun. I do this for practice anyway. So if I'd be fine with just doing this, working a full-time job, and hanging out with my friends every time I rehearse, and just enjoy these tracks. And that's exactly what I did. And
Yeah.
and I was fine with not making it as a content creator, because at the end of the day, like, I made it already with music. Like, I lived that dream. I did it. Like, I did the
Sure.
whole thing. It dried up, and now it's just kind of like, all right, well, I'm gonna have a full-time job. I'm trying to do my best at that, trying to make some, financially sound uh decisions in my adult life, when I didn't do that in my early life as a
Yeah.
young musician trying to make it. Because I didn't go to college because of it. um so I don't have an educational so how do I, so that this is my path. And so I think, back to what we were saying before, is like, I think you need to, figure out if you're passionate enough to be okay with just streaming to your friends, you know
Yes. I think that mentality is great, because you're not setting yourself up to be let down or to have your hopes up, because I've struggled with that ever since I started content creation seriously during the pandemic. Like, I've had some good moments where I'm like, oh, wow, like, this video did really well, or this stream went really well. And, could I put in my 2 weeks at my full time day job, And
Yeah.
then I'm thinking, hold on a second, wait. Reality kicks in. Then the next day, I have a not so good stream, or I have a not so good video that I put out there. So
Yeah.
then I think, okay, this sort of trajectory or journey isn't where I want it to be yet. You know,
Mm.
would I love to do full-time content creation someday? Absolutely, but it's gonna take time, and
Yeah.
that's what I feel like a lot of content creators need to know right now in this moment, that it's okay to have a bad video, it's okay to have a bad stream. It's just a part of the process, but just have your mentality. Have your mentality of, you know what? It's not the end of the world if it happens, and I'm happy doing this. You
Yeah.
know.
And that's not to say I don't have like weeks, days, months where I'm depressed that I'm not where I need to be.
Mhm.
Because, if you're a creative person and you have this expectation in your head, that's just what you want to be. And when you don't hit that mark for whatever reason, like be it view count, or you didn't have anybody in the stream, or whatever, just a bad time, that can really mess with you. But like you go through the motions, you go through your depressive state, and you're just kind of like, God dang it. But then there's a certain point where you're like, okay, so I didn't like that, what did I do wrong? Or if I did anything wrong, you might not have, it's just been a luck, that you might have streamed on a day where Janet Jackson showed her nipples for the third time. It's like
Right.
and people were trying to tune into that. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Again, I'm dating myself. But like, there's all these things. It's just like you gotta have fun. You gotta make it fun first, because like
Yeah.
it just, again, like, at least at the end of the day, if nothing else happens to with any of my content or whatever, like at the end of the day, I'm having a great time. Like, it's
Oh yeah.
fun. It's
Absolutely.
it's it's fun to hang out with people.
I'm sorry, I can't shake the reference you made, because it's funny because, like, for all my podcast episodes, I always take two things from the episode and I make that the title. So this title has to be Farmville and the Janet Jackson nip slip. If that
I don't
doesn't
even know where
bring in
that came from.
viewers, I don't know what will, because oh my gosh, I can't shake that. But I'm
But
sorry, I
it,
I
it's such an
totally just
yeah, it's such an interesting, like, moment that we're living, because you're so right. It's like, but it's kids are looking at what a lot of famous Twitch streamers are doing, and
yeah,
they're inspired, which is great, which is awesome. And they found something that they're passionate about, and that's the first step. And then the second step is, working at it and
yes.
learning and, networking and doing all that sort of thing, and being different and having fun, like, with it, once you get to a certain skill level.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you feel when that video of you drumming went viral? The
Which
crazy
one?
drummer.
Oh, dang.
It's
Oh, wow, man,
like
you've
a
really done your
million,
research. I'm really impressed with the amount of research you did on me. This is
dude, a
fantastic.
million views, and you're just like annihilating these freaking drums. And I'm like, damn, like this is freaking crazy. Cause I
Dude,
think that was in 2006.
that was 2006. That was right when YouTube was a baby. A
Yes.
baby, YouTube was. And I had a buddy of mine, and she was like, I have this camera. I'm getting into videography and stuff like that. And she was a big proponent of my band, A Beginner's Mind, at the time, which we were a progressive rock band. That's why you see like a million drums.
Yeah.
Because we were just so into like Mars Volta and Dream Theater, and just
Sure.
bands that that only like music nerds listen to.
Right.
Why we weren't successful, I have no idea. Anyway, I wonder why. Yeah, she just videoed me doing a solo, and I didn't think much of it, because YouTube was like, okay, it was a brand new thing. It was like, that's where you watch stupid cat videos and old videos of stick death.
Yeah.
That's just where you just old fun memes and stuff. And sure enough, like a year later, it's got like 500,000 views, and I'm sitting here like, what? This is okay. This is awesome because I never considered myself like that proficient at the drums. I always compare myself to people I look up to, like Eric Moore and Michael Shack and Mike Portnoy, like all these drummers that just lived and breathed and died the drums. I was never that was never my attitude. So
Yeah,
I only play drums because it's fun. Like, and it's just like, and I just so happen to have picked up a few things along the way. And so when I saw that, I was like, wow, okay, that was a pretty big boost to my ego there.
sure.
And so like I think 3 years later after that, I put up my own first uh drum cover, and it was the Mega Man. It was a Mega Man. I think it was a Mega Man. I think it was Spark Mandrill stage, if I remember
Oh,
correctly. Yeah, and there's so you can find it on the internet somewhere. Like I can post it. It's like I put the camera like right here. I'm playing here, but the camera's over here, so all you see is just my chest,
yeah.
like just me playing the hi hat, and it's like I don't have anything mic'd. It's just like me just going crazy on the hi hat, and that's all you hear. It's like early drum cover stuff that I had no idea what to do about mics or anything at the time, and that video didn't do very well at the time. It was like, oh well, all right, and so yeah, I've been doing like the video game drum cover stuff for a while. for
Yeah.
for a while. I took a break because I actually had, joined a real band, and that kind of took me away from like content creation, but
Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the current content you're posting, man, is so good, and it's like you couple your talent with the drums with nostalgia for people with these themes that it's a solid combination for what I feel is like a recipe for easy viral TikTok content, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting it's interesting you differentiate TikTok content,
Mhm.
because I don't have nearly the amount of views and attention on Instagram or YouTube that I get on TikTok, and I don't know why that is. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, poor me, I'm
No,
not
no.
doing well on other than. No, I'm just saying like that's interesting. That fascinates me.
Neither do I, but it's funny because the only reason my YouTube is at 700-ish subscribers is because of TikTok. If it weren't for TikTok, I'd only have probably 50 to 100 subs. It's because TikTok is arguably the biggest platform at the moment, and it's so easy to direct people to different platforms from there. Um, especially if you're live streaming on TikTok and you mention your Twitch, you can have people migrate over to your Twitch channel. Next thing you know, you're averaging like 25 viewers in your Twitch.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Dude, like, I don't know, man. Like, this whole TikTok thing is blowing my freaking mind, and I'm sure it does you because you got a bunch of followers on TikTok too. So like especially recently, like I I just did one of my clips from my Twitch live stream was from this anime called Parasite,
mhm.
and it's just blown up, and
Wow.
I'm sitting here just like that. I've released that like 2 weeks ago. Like, why is
Yeah.
it? And it's just like it just keeps going. I've got like 1,000 followers in like a week, and I'm sitting here like I don't even know what to do with this information.
Yeah, the algorithm is strange how it works. Like, I had a video that stopped at 200,000. I'm like, views, and I'm like, okay, it's done. There's no way it's gonna go past. 2 weeks later, it jumps to like 800,000, and I'm like, what the hell, And it's crazy though. Like, it's random like that, and I don't know if there really is a recipe or some sort of um a thing to it. I think
Well,
TikTok is just almost like the lottery sometimes, you
yeah,
know?
well, it's weird because it's like it makes me feel like I'm wrestling with this like idea of like, okay, do people really like what I'm putting out there, or are they just really liking this moment? You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like, because I look at my Instagram and I look at my YouTube and I go, okay, so I think this is the real I don't know, like which one is real? Like because like they're
Yeah.
so vastly different that I'm just like I don't know because look, I'm I'm like I did this whole live stream thing just for fun. Like it was
Yeah.
just for fun. I did not want it to like. Of course, I wanted like that. Like that'd be amazing if like I blew up and it's like this is what I do for a living. But like
Yeah.
again, live that life. I'm I can't like force I can't bring myself to have that drop everything else, focus on this. I can't afford to do that anymore. I'm 37. Like I can't afford to like drop my job and just pursue this. I
Right.
could have done that in my 20s and I did that already. So like I love and absolutely like my ego is like on the roof right now because of TikTok is like yes, I feel good about myself and what I'm putting out there, but like I talk about this on my Twitch live stream with my friends all the time and I'm like it's going to take something monumental for me to pull that trigger. Like I am going to
Sure.
start playing live shows eventually, see if this whole like live stream can actually work in a live room setting with
Hmm.
like people like live and like a live show. I want to see if that would work. I'm still like working at the details of like how that would even work. But if this keeps going in a direction of like I'm getting a lot more followers and attention, then that's my next step.
Yeah, and you mentioned this in the hopes and dreams video, and I'm gonna edit the hopes and dreams Undertale theme as I say this to really make this super super dramatic because it should be. I think, dude, if you get to that point where you're getting to play venues and do video game covers and people buy tickets to see you and even like request stuff like on the fly, how unreal would that be? Like that
It's
would be
dude,
amazing.
it would like again, that's why I called it hopes and dreams because
Right.
that is something that I visualize in my head, right? Like and
Yeah.
I haven't done that and I said this in the video, like I have not had that sort of visualization of like playing live in front of people. It's similar to my, original dream when I was 16, like playing live in front of thousands of people and touring and doing all that stuff. I visualized it and I made it happen. And so like I'm now visualizing that now, and it's just like it's kind of crazy. It's so crazy. I had to make a video about it, um, because like that's how I was feeling at the moment. It was just like I
Right.
don't know, like I didn't think that this would be happening again. I thought like I'll probably do some drumming gigs here and there. Maybe if the universe is right with me, I'll get like a really cool country gig and I'll get paid a whole bunch of money for it. Like hey Keith Urban, what's up? And let's play. It's like I like you. I like you very much. Come on tour with me, and and like I'm Keith Urban's drummer. Like yeah, that was the extent of my like maybe it will happen. Who knows? But
Yeah.
with this whole thing, it's just making me like think of like, okay, this is where it could go.
Sure.
You know?
It absolutely could. I mean, look at what some of these TikTok stars have done with their fame and their rise in popularity. Like the D'Amelios have like a whole show about their family. They're like the up and coming Kardashians, and she just started out doing dancing videos. And I'm surfing through Hulu the other night. I'm like, oh, look at this! It's so
Yeah.
crazy. She has her own show, and all from this app that is just so it's just mind-boggling. And what the one thing that is scary about it though is I just feel like it plays around with people's mental health with these
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that
with
up.
the bump of it's played around with mine because
Mm-hmm.
um, this is not a brag because compared to what other people do on this app, this is nothing. I did a video recently and it got a million views, and it was a Terminator 2 thumbs up reference in video games, and I'm Shane, I'm telling you, like 100 video games have referenced this, and I started out just doing 5. And then I got all these comments in the first video saying, "Oh, you forgot this one, and you forgot that the Simpsons game did it, and this." So I'm like, oh shit. So I got to make a new one. I make that new one and it blew up. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now I got to keep making Terminator 2 thumbs up videos. So I put out another one that's like 15 Terminator 2 thumbs up, references. And then it didn't do as good. So it's like, the point I'm trying to make is you got to be very careful with this app as a content creator because sometimes it seems a little too good to be true, you know.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because luckily I'm old enough to like, and pardon the pun, wise enough to know this, what this app is doing, what all social media does at a certain area, but like TikTok really has gotten it down. Like, so what they're doing, and it's very obvious. Like, it's very obvious what they're doing. So they'll, I don't. Again, this is complete speculation, but it's so obvious what they're doing. They're turning up the dial for certain videos,
Yeah.
and making you, the content creator, have a dopamine hit in your head and in your brain, and so your brain gets this you're firing like, oh my gosh, I'm special, this is
Mm,
awesome. And you get good feelings, like it's literally like taking a drug. This is literally what
yeah.
is happening. And so you feel so good about yourself, you feel popular, you feel like, oh my god, I'm special, this is amazing. And then they turn the dial back down. And
Yes.
so what that does is it turns you into a drug addict. And so
Yes.
now you're chasing the dragon. You're chasing that feeling, like you just said, like, I got to make a whole bunch of all of these other videos, and now you're just posting. You're on this app now more because of that dopamine hit that you had with your big huge video. And similar with
Yes.
my stuff, and similar with me and Brinstar was having this conversation on my Discord. Just like this, you have to be careful with that stuff, especially if you're a young kid. If you are young and you're just, you have, I can't imagine, I cannot imagine being 16 and having that much attention thrown at me in such a quick span of time. I
Yeah.
cannot imagine what my mental state would be, because I feel like growing up the way I did, being made fun of like as a gamer and just being a nerd and weird and awkward. Like, I feel like that. I don't wish that on anyone. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like that that sort of thing is important to give you character. And I
Sure.
feel like it's dangerous to shower younger kids with just adoration, like
Right.
immediately, like that much. Like, I feel like that does something to your mental state. Again, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist by any means, but I feel that that's my bro science.
No, it's very true what you're saying. Like I'm 100% on board with that because it's not healthy. I don't really like, and it's funny because if we put out PSAs about this on TikTok, the funny thing is this app is not turning up that video. I'll tell you that right freaking now. They are not making that one viral. They are gonna be like, 100 views at best. Well, you're not
Yeah.
gonna hit the algorithm on that one. So
Shadow band.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's that now I think we're starting to get into like the conspiracy theory area of TikTok.
Conspiracy
But
talk.
yes,
Conspiracy talk. Yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, just again, it's just, but I, I gotta hand it to TikTok though. I have to. I gotta be fair, because you know, because of TikTok, like, I didn't see it coming. I didn't want to originally go on TikTok. Like, I had a bunch of friends like, bro, you gotta be on TikTok. Gotta be on TikTok. Gotta be on TikTok. It's like,
yeah,
okay, fine, I'll go on fucking TikTok. So I'm on TikTok, and I started posting, and things were all right. And then all of a sudden, I post a Final Fantasy VI um, decisive battle drum cover, and boom, it just, a bunch of people started flowing in, and not just the views. The views, I've had millions of views before.
Mhm.
That's fine, and comments on that particular video, and that's great. But I've never had the amount of actual engagement from real human beings on the comment section, like,
yeah,
through any other app other than TikTok. And that is what I feel like brings people to TikTok, is not just the views and the stuff, the dopamine hit and whatnot, but it's the actual engagement from real human beings in the comment section.
yes,
Because that's what got me. Because then I started meeting people. I started, like, I started to I met all these awesome people that are now joining my Discord. Which, by the way, I'm still learning Discord. I didn't have a Discord at first, but now I do, because I met someone on TikTok. They helped me. They came into my live stream, and it's just like, it's networking. It's really
Yes.
good at like at getting you to network with other creators, and it's just so awesome. I'm getting to meet all these cool people that do the same thing I do, like Geo the Virtue. I saw him on TikTok,
Yeah.
and we duetted with each other, and he's awesome. He's such a cool dude, and it's just like, man, don't why can't you just live here and we just like hang out every day?
Yeah. Seriously. It's like this is the type of engagement that we did not see growing up. You know, if you liked, say, like a band or I mean anyone that was even mildly famous, where did you have this one-to-one communication where you could drop a comment to them and they're replying back to you? Or even in real time, like live, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I just feel like it's just so crazy how this app works and how attached people are getting to content creators because it's instant feedback, you know.
Hmm.
And but yeah, it's good that we're talking about this because I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough about like the mental health aspect of social media and specifically TikTok, you know, cuz it can get like carried away for
Well, I
people,
think
you know.
you and I, uh, you know, grew up in a time where okay, well you're 6 years. Oh yeah, you're 6 years younger than me. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you grew up in the same time. So yeah, like you and I grew up in a time where we didn't have the internet at one
right.
point. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Isn't it strange that we grew up pre-internet and then in its inception and then after? It's like we've seen the full spectrum of it, you know.
so you and I lived through a very important time mentally speaking. I feel like
Right.
because we know what it feel. We know how to shut it off. We know
Yes.
how to shut the world out and just enjoy the world because that's what we did as kids. We just like went around and played fireman and cowboys and well, I can't say that now, but
Oh
like
yeah, isn't it crazy? Yeah, you can't say that now, but
you
before
know what
it
I'm
was
talking about.
totally acceptable. Yes.
Cowboys and robbers. That's what
Right. I think that's the term.
like
That's the PC term.
yeah. So
Oh my
with that,
gosh.
but that's what I'm saying. It's like we experienced what the world is like without phones and computers and the internet.
Yeah.
So I feel like we can manage it mentally better. But man, I don't know. I'm generally an optimist. I'm generally an optimist just about the world and life in general, and I feel like humans will find a way, even our children who are being inundated with a bunch of social media nonsense.
Yeah.
But like we'll get used to it, and our brains will adapt, and we'll figure out ways to become stronger. But I feel like there's going to be a dark period of a bunch of mush,
Yes.
a bunch of weirdness. I feel like we're experiencing that now, but like I feel like you know we're gonna come out the other end and figure it out, and then
Yeah.
you know other controversies will, other technologies will come along and destroy the world or attempt to, and we'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
I think the sequel to TikTok will come out, you know, the next big app that will just take over our brains and then that will be the end of the world. Whatever app that's going to be, you know. So
Yeah, TikTok 2, the sequel.
TikTok too. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm not looking forward to whatever that's going to be, but oh yeah.
Yeah, it's it's but you're right though. It's just we need to but I feel like more and more people are starting to talk about that. I saw a TikTok just recently about it. He was talking about attention spans
Yeah.
and how it's shrunk in the last like 10 years or 20 years, like
Yeah.
dramatically so. And so he challenges the people on TikTok to just watch and don't scroll, and it's just
Right.
him just telling a story, and your job is to listen to the story and just sit there.
Yeah.
And he challenges him. To his credit, he's gotten a lot of followers because of it. And I'm like,
Wow.
thank you for for doing this, because that's very important to like make people just stop for a second and just breathe and
Yeah.
just enjoy the story being told.
Yes, yes. And it's funny because I see a lot of creators with this strategy of you gotta have a good hook. If you don't have a good hook in the beginning of your video, people are gonna swipe away from it. Well, okay, that's fine. But what if right after this hook I have something valuable to tell you? It's like freaking just swipe away from it. It's like, why does it have to get to this point where we
Well,
have to bait people
they're
in?
trying to find the formula. This is the same. It's the same thing with pop music and
Hmm.
regular other genres of music. Like,
Right.
pop music, it's the same thing. Gotta have a hook. Gotta have a verse that's the first verse needs to hit 1 minute. Second
Yes.
verse needs to end at 2 minutes. Song needs to be 3 minutes long. Done. That's pop music. Other genres of music doesn't give a shit about that, and that's why those aren't very popular because they're not very They're not as formulaic. And so we're seeing that now with social media, especially TikTok, where you're seeing like this is the formula: have the hook, do the thing, da da blah, da blah, blah. There you go, you got yourself TikTok. But the problem with that, things get watered down, like
Mm.
pop music and and to be fair, other genres of music that do the same thing. But like, you know, it's just things get watered down and stale. And you, as a content creator, in my humble opinion, are just is that what your identity is going to be?
Mm.
Because at that point, you're just chasing trends. And
Yes.
personally, that doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah, it's because then it's straying away from what you actually like to talk about or want to do as a content
Right.
creator, you know? Um, so I don't know. It's weird. It's like TikTok supports content creators so much. They have a fund for you. They have all these things on how to be a content creator, but at the same time, they're sort of a victim to these or the creators are a victim to these trends and to things that will get them away from that creative mindset. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
I totally agree. And it's I that's why I don't know. Like someone asked me the other day, like, why don't you have more views? And I made a TikTok video out of it, and I made it funny and whatnot. But I really wanted to say was like, dude, my content is not supposed to be viral.
Right.
That's just the bottom line. It's very niche. Like I'm targeting people who appreciate music and appreciate video games, and not only video games, old ass video games. Like, and the demographic of TikTok is not like my age. The main demographic of TikTok is like 16 to like 22 or something like that. And so like having my videos do anything above 1,000 like likes is just monumental. It's like
Yeah.
that in itself is a win. And you know, people say like, hey, you're like this video will definitely go viral. Wishing you luck. I'm like, I appreciate it, thank you, but I'm like, again, it's like going viral is not really my goal. Actually, I'm accomplishing my goal with meeting people like you and just having a fun ride. Like
Yeah.
that is my main goal throughout this. I just always wanted to be a part of a community with things that I'm passionate about, and I'm doing that because of TikTok. But it's not because of the views; it's because of the engagement I'm getting with other creators.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just people place so much importance on going viral and what view count you have for your videos. It's like I was doing a TikTok live the other day, and it like I did one where I was playing Cuphead, and I had like 1,000 people watching me, and I'm like, this is insane. I've never had this amount of people watching me, and I got like such a high off of like playing Cuphead for the first time, which by itself is like exciting in and of itself because it's a
Yeah.
crazy game. And then you add the fact that I have all these people watching me, and then they're migrating to Twitch, and all these things are just firing off in my brain. But anyways, then I play like Hollow Knight the next day, and then I have like 5 viewers watch me, and someone goes, "What happened? Where is everybody? Why do you only have 5 people?" I'm like, "It's fine. We're having a
Alright.
good time. We're having fun." And I said, "Hey, these are the real ones. These are the people who are sticking around and talking and engaging and coming back to the stream, and
Yeah.
that's that's all that really matters."
Yeah, when Brinstar had I had him on my podcast, we talked about that same thing about view count, and like it does get to me. It does get to me sometimes, because then you start to think about like what am I doing wrong? Like maybe you start to second guess yourself and your skills, and you go through the whole like artist thing. You're like I'm not liked as much as I want to be,
Right.
Then you get over it, but like there's always those moments. And
Oh yeah.
right before I did the podcast with him, like that week, I had that moment where I was just like, man, I'm kicking rocks, just like, oh no, like, and what am I doing with my life? Like that kind of stuff. And he said, like, we were just happened to talk about it, and he's like, dude, your followers and your view count are not, that they do not describe who you are as a person and as a content creator.
Yes.
You're, you know, maybe 5 to 10% of those people are really there to see you,
Right.
and the others are just, it's just a inflation of something, everything else, an amalgamation of, maybe they just really like that one video that you did and they're like, I'll follow him, maybe I'll see him again.
Yeah.
But like a small, very small amount of people are hardcore fans of yours and want you to succeed. And it's similar to what I was told when I was going through the music, life. And we were talking with a business management company or whatever. And I remember them saying something to the effect of, like, all you really need to be successful is, I think it was either 100 fans or 1,000 fans, like hardcore fans.
Yeah.
Because, and when they said those numbers, like, that seems too small. But then they started explaining what it meant. It's like, a hardcore fan will, number one, find you wherever you are,
Hmm.
buy your, at that time, CDs. But if you have merch, they'll buy all your merch. They'll
Yeah.
buy everything that you put out. They're hardcores. They'll wear your shirt. They'll tattoo your name into their skin.
Yeah.
Those are the hardcore people, and that you need only, like, comparatively, a handful of those people compared to the people, the wider world of followers that you have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense to me. It's like, even just that little amount. It's not like you need like a whole army. If you have just that little amount, it would be enough to support your, band or your creative endeavors. And,
Hmm.
um, it's at least at the very least a good starting point,
Yeah,
to lead to something more that could end up becoming your thing and your full-time thing. So.
yeah. So can I ask, when did you start doing, like, Twitch streaming and video games? Can I ask you a question? Can I flip it around on
You
you? Is that
can't.
allowed?
No, no. I'm only as no, of course, man. Um, so I started when Twitch like first started, which was around 2012, 2013 or something. That was when people were just starting with streaming video games. I had this shitty laptop that I still have today. And I was playing like Five Nights at Freddy's. That was like the first game I ever streamed because it was the only game I could stream that my little laptop can handle. And I still remember certain people's names that followed me and watched me back then, who I don't know what has come of their lives since then, but because they haven't come back. But not that I hold any resentment, but anyways, I took a huge break off of streaming from 2016 to like the pandemic. So yeah, so like a good 4 year break, and it was mainly because I was hooked on this game Hearthstone, which I still play to this day.
Yeah,
Magic
I've
card
heard of
game.
Hearthstone. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this freaking game, it will just hook you for sure. And the fact that they have it on phones, like where it started out just like PC only, is crazy. But I was streaming that game and I was creating content, like memes, like Hearthstone memes and stuff like that, while I was in college. And so at the time I was going to school for accounting, which, side note, I hate accounting. I've never liked it. It's my day job. I'm not a freaking fan of it at all. I got pushed into it, and this game was really taking my time away from school. And but I was getting excited by streaming it, and I was getting like 1,000 Instagram followers, which at the time I thought was massive,
Yeah.
for me at least.
Yeah.
And
I don't have a
you know,
thousand Instagram followers. I have 600. So
right?
I'm like, whatever. But
It's
yeah, a
crazy.
thousand. I'd be like, what the hell's going on? Yeah.
Right. And but anyway, so then I dropped that to focus on school. I graduate. I'm doing all these different accounting jobs. Then the pandemic hit, and then I'm like, you know what? I've been a creative my whole life. I love doing creative things. Not one for studying and for accounting. So I'm like, let me start making videos again. and let me start streaming again. So that was 2020. And then, I did it for a good 6 months, and I was, getting good hits here and there with certain videos and whatnot. And then took another break from it. Uh, and then it wasn't until recently, like I want to say like 4 or 5 months ago, that I started back up again. So here I am now, and I've amassed this, somewhat of a following on TikTok, which I personally don't consider a lot. Others would probably consider it a lot. But but it's like we were talking about earlier. It's like all the other platforms aren't as successful for me. It's
Yeah.
like I'm trying on YouTube because I know with YouTube you can really make a living off of it if you get enough subscribers. You can monetize things. You can partner up with sponsors and everything, but the quality for YouTube is, the bar is so high.
Yeah.
You need to really bring your A game with your production quality. Your editing needs to be smooth. You need to have good narration. And my narration voice, if you heard my first few videos, oh my gosh,
I mean,
terrible.
I think you got something with the narration, the actual voice. It's very nice. It's very smooth. It's very nice. I enjoy
Thank you. And that's
it.
taken time to really mold this voice. Even I had a guest before say that I have a podcaster's voice, but it's tough for me to hear it because, of course, everybody hates hearing their own voice. So I'm like, when I'm editing these podcasts, I'm like cringing and dying on the
Oh
inside as I
God.
do it. So
Yeah, when I first started my podcast, I don't even know why I started a podcast. Because in the beginning, I don't, I don't speak
you,
particularly well, but at the time, I've gotten better because of it. So there's multiple reasons why I started. I was just like, I want to get better at speaking to people and
yeah,
like sort of interviewing and doing all that stuff. Not that I want to be like an interviewer or like a journalist or anything, but just I want to be better at the art of communication. And and I still have uhs and ums, and I listen, when I'm editing my podcast back, and I go, God, stop saying that one phrase over and over and over again, you idiot.
that's me with I say
I do, too.
at the end of freaking everything, and I'm like, why? I wish. Hey, I just said
You
it
said
just
that.
now. I keep saying it, and I'm not even doing it on purpose. That's
And,
how bad of a tick it is.
but like they're spaces that we fill in our brain when we're thinking. That's just what we
Yes.
do as humans, and it's unfortunate when you start pointing it out. Because when you start pointing it out now, and it's worse when you have a friend that says like all the time, and you totally forget about it. You totally forget about it, and then you start thinking about it. You're like, oh, she says like a lot. Oh
Mm.
no, and then now you're just hanging out with your friend who you love. You love your friend, but you start focusing on every time they say like, and you're just like,
Stop saying like. Oh man. Yeah, because of course the person saying it never notices.
now
It's so bad.
we've
It's so
cursed the
bad.
podcast. We've
I'm
cursed it
telling
now.
you. I have to end the podcast now forever. I just have to throw it away now. I can't. It's gonna become the podcast. This is so crazy. I almost interrupted you, and that's something that I hate to do, by the way. But you said like you didn't even know why you wanted to start a podcast. Dude, out of everyone I've met, you out of everyone should have a podcast.
Oh,
Dad
thank you.
Elvis is associated with Elvis. You're a freaking talented drummer. You've toured Warp Tour. You've done Cajun fan videos.
Oh
Dude,
my God.
what the hell? You're like the most interesting person ever. You're telling me
How
you
the
shouldn't have a
hell?
podcast.
How the hell did you know that I have not talked about those old ass video, like those old ass movies in so long. Man, you're really good at this whole like finding out who you're interviewing. I'm terrible at it. I'm
Let me tell
terrible
you,
at that.
the acting in those videos, unreal. I just started taking an acting class that I've been horrible at showing up to, by the way. They give you a 6-month window to attend all 6 classes. I've only attended 2 since I started back in March. For some reason, I can't bring myself to to go. I'm gonna finish the classes. But anyways, what I'm trying to get to is spot on, dude. Your freaking the Cajun accent was cracking me up. You had
Well,
you and your
Jim,
friends had the props, and I gotta say, whoever did the camera work and the editing,
okay,
super impressive.
so here's the funny part about it. Okay, so I, first of all, I wasn't the actual Cajun fan in the movie. Okay, God, I can't believe I'm explaining this old ass YouTube video that I did. Oh, man, like ancient. Okay, so I was in this band with a bunch of my best friend, our brothers to me. Like we the same group of people that I lived in Vegas when we were 16.
Yeah,
Like we all moved together to Nashville to pursue a career in our band, which was at the time a progressive rock band. Then that didn't work out. That genre of music wasn't working, so we decided to be a funk pop band, like a funk, pop rock band. And we got a new singer. And so one day, YouTube was starting to become a thing. And so one day I wanted to get a camera. And I was like, all right, I want to get a camera because I haven't had a camera in a long time. And I was like, it'd be fun. And it was just so spur of the moment too. It was just so like, what we should do, guys? We should make a movie. And they're like, yeah, let's make a movie. I'm like, okay. So literally that night, we no script, no nothing. We just went with the flow where the story was taking us. We were like, who's the villain gonna be? And like, who's the like? We should make it a scary movie. Like, yeah, let's make it a scary movie. And so we were like Scooby Doo kind of, you know, play on Scream, and but like, but we were in a band, so like, let's make it about the band. And so it was all on the fly. And we just drinking, having a good time. Our wives, now wives, but at the time girlfriends, were in the video.
yeah.
And so like, because we were all hanging out, and so like, let's make a movie. So my wife is in it. My wife is in that movie, and she really didn't want to do it, but she gets a little bit more courage when she has a few alcoholic beverages. So the same. So I got her to be in the movie on camera.
Wow.
That was one of the only other time, those 3 movies we actually got her to do that. But yeah, so we made the Cajun Fan that night. And for those who are wondering what the Cajun Fan is all about, it's about this fan from Louisiana who our singer was from, by the way.
Yeah.
So this isn't offensive to Louisiana.
Right.
Okay, he's Louisianan. He knows. Okay, so he knows. Oh, or was he from Louisiana? I don't care. But he's from the South, so we're
Yeah, yeah.
it's fine. So so he decided he had a beard and like hat, and just like he was gonna be the serial killer that killed off the band because we shunned him at one time.
Right.
Then he killed us all because of it. That was
Oh
spoiler
my
alert.
gosh.
So if y'all want to watch it, it's called Attack of the Cajun Fan. It's on YouTube. There you go.
Guys, you stop everything you're doing and please stop this podcast and watch it because that's how worth it this is. And the fact that you said that there's no script, even double impressive because you guys are improving, which is a crazy skill. That is tough to do.
And I did the editing. I will say I was the one that did the editing and the camera
Dude,
shots, most of them. Yeah.
that is so impressive. That is great. Because like as an editor, like watching that, I was like, dude, this is really good. Like I was like so freaking in tune with it. So I loved it, man. It was great.
That was a yeah. We every now and then, me and the guys, we talk about it. Like, dude, we should make another movie.
Yeah.
Like 20 years later, we made 3
Make a
movies.
sequel.
We made 3 sequels to that damn thing. Like the next 2 actually had scripts because we actually had a videographer buddy that
and you were
was,
building up a cult following. You had to
yeah,
give the
at that
fans
point.
what they wanted. So
We had to upgrade, we had to upgrade our talent. So we actually
yeah.
made a script for those next 2 movies. But like, God,
Put
yeah,
out the
that was
Kickstarter, man.
time.
I'll back it.
Dude,
I'll do it.
we
have
always, we think about it every now and then because we would in our later days when we weren't like in a band together, but we would always hang out still, and we would rent a cabin out in Gatlinburg and just hang out. I had my bachelor party at Gatlinburg. We just rented a cabin, us 5 dudes, and just hung out, drank, and just talked about life. It was great. It's
That's
wonderful.
awesome.
You
Yeah.
know, but it's so like I think we actually had that conversation. Like, dude, should we do another Cajun fan like right now?
It's the perfect setting, cabin.
You
I
know,
mean,
so every now and then we were like, dude, let's do another movie. You
oh
want to
man,
write the script? Write the script, man. We'll do it. But
we'll do it.
it's never come to pass yet. We'll be in our like 50s one of these days and bring it back.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. If it didn't hit YouTube back in the day, I could have seen that as like a nice straight to DVD. Maybe like in Blockbuster, in that
Yeah.
one section, you just like,
Oh
all
yeah.
right, let me give Cajun Fan a shot.
Directed by Yui Bowl. Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yes. Oh my gosh. If it was a video game first, of course.
Of
We
course,
need the
of course.
Cajun Fan video game first, and then he's got to make it. Oh my
Dude,
gosh.
actually just watched the Sonic movie just recently. I know it's been out for like a year and a half now, but like I just watched it and I enjoyed it. I
It was
enjoyed the
good,
hell
right?
out of it.
Yeah, for a video game movie, I'll tell you, that's top tier video game movie right there. What I was not a fan of, I'm gonna nitpick here, the product placement, but I get
Oh
it
yeah.
because I guess they really needed solid funding for a video game
Yeah.
movie. But the Olive Garden references, not one, I think two at least, and at the end they made it so obvious. So that was actually kind of funny.
I
But
think
like,
at that point they were kind of smartly leaning into it,
yeah,
and I think that's what you have to do when you have to be self-aware
that's
because
true.
you can't treat your audience like idiots. Like,
Right.
and I feel like that's what a lot of movies try to do. They like to try to slyly, and most of them get away with it because you're just enjoying the movie. But like,
Yeah.
I think they were smart in doing that and just kind of leaning into it. Like, yeah, look, we needed some money, all right, so it's
Like, don't
it's
judge us, okay? We're
don't
we're
judge us.
trying
We
not to
needed some money from
fail
Olive Garden.
here. Yeah. Like, at least they didn't go with the cheap move of Sonic plug. Like Sonic going to Sonic,
Oh
like the
yeah,
the
chili
fast food
dogs.
place. Yeah.
That'd have been super easy too. That'd have been
Too easy.
I'm positive. I am 100% positive in those meeting rooms when they're discussing like the movie and whatnot. I'm sure one person was like, "Well, in the '90s, he was really into chili dogs. Maybe we should bring that back, and we can get a lot of funding from Sonic." And I'm so glad some cooler head, probably fired that guy on the spot. It's
But
just like, get out of here, Johnson.
where was that cooler head for the first Sonic design? That freaking crackhead looking hedgehog that a whole boardroom of people just said, this is Sonic, and we're sticking like how? That's
Dude,
crazy.
I made a reaction video to that. I was so upset about it. I was just like, because like, dude, I've had this thing about video game movies, like,
Yeah.
and I've had again. I'm an optimistic person. I think hopefully after the Sonic movie, they start to get it and they go the way of Marvel movies. I feel
Hmm.
that's gonna event because Marvel movies weren't what they were now. Weren't what they are now.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of Marvel movies that just did not do well and they
Hmm.
just kept on flopping and flopping and flopping and flopping. Then Iron Man comes out, and then
Iron
all of a
Man was the
sudden, there
savior.
we
Yeah.
go. That's our trajectory. So I'm hoping that video game movies, in a similar vein, goes that direction. They actually start to understand the audience and
Yes.
what we want in our particular films,
Yeah.
and hopefully that happens. But um, it's surprising to me that they actually listened. They actually listened to the fans and changed it when they didn't have to, especially at that point, because at that point the character was already made. They've already
Yep.
shot a lot of scenes with that
Spent a
CG
lot of
animation
money.
and
Yep.
spent a lot of money to fix it. And so, to their credit, they fixed it. And the second, he was great. Like
Yeah.
he was Sonic the Hedgehog. That was
Yeah.
Sonic, what we all grew up with. That's what the Sonic that is what is currently being designed. It's like, and it drives me crazy when, and this is one of the fallbacks to video games and movies. It's like you have a bunch of writers and they have the source material. They do a lot of this in book movies too. Like they have the source material and then they decide to add things that they think is necessary for the script or whatever. And
Right.
it's just them. Like, I don't know if it's an ego thing. I don't know if it's like an ineptitude of somehow of I understand that writing is hard and I'm not a writer. I get it. Okay, so I'm just a drummer. I don't even write music. I just drum over music that's already written. So you can bash me all you want, but like it drives me crazy when they stray so far away from the source material and do stuff like design Sonic like a crackhead.
They made him like so humanoid looking that it was just like this uncanny valley situation that I'm like, is this a hedgehog or is this a like middle-aged crackhead, from
Yeah,
God knows where, but what it is this. It's the money. Hollywood says, fuck the source material, or we'll give them little snippets of it so that they're mildly happy when they're watching it. But they're saying, how do we make this appealing to the general population that are going to watch Sonic or that are going to watch whatever Resident Evil movie,
right.
and we have to insert over the top action and we got to do all this crap because they are afraid that it's going to flop, you know. But I
Yeah.
think that if they take that leap of faith and really, have fans of the game who are also writers and directors do the freaking movie, and
Yeah.
because
Well, and it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to. I think they overthink it too. Like,
yes,
okay, for example, I'll give you a big example, and one that I always bring up, and I don't care because I will not rest. I will not rest until this is rectified.
yeah,
Okay, listen to me, everyone. Listen to me right here, right here.
five
Okay,
people out there, listen good.
Street Fighter, Street
Oh my
Fighter.
gosh.
Okay,
Yes.
doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to
Right.
go that deep into this. It's a tournament of fighters fighting in the street. That's it. You
Right.
don't need to go. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. It's just cool action, cool action scenes. You don't have to make someone a friggin' detective. You don't have to go. You don't have to do all that nonsense. Just like you got Ryu, you got Ken, you got Guile, you got Chun Li, you got Cammy, you got like okay, you got the main people, and you don't have to like tell their entire backstories because you don't have enough time. Make it a Netflix show. There you go. Then that way you can build the characters instead of
Hey,
like
it would be so inclusive for a Netflix show. You have people of all different backgrounds, and Netflix is all about that, You got people
yeah,
from that Street Fighter really had like the most diverse cast in a video game, down to showing their flags of what stage you were going to. So I feel like that would make for a solid Netflix series as their subscribers are
oh
falling
yeah.
down recently. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's only a
yeah,
matter of time. You can only grow so big.
that's
And
true.
Netflix, I feel like, is eating itself right now. We're going down a
Big time.
different path, but like, there's only amount because other, now just straight up, uh, mo- uh, movie production companies are having their own streaming service. And so
Yes.
when movie production companies have their own streaming service, then you're in trouble because guess what? They have the rights to all these different kinds of movies, like
Yep.
Paramount, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Paramount was a movie company, to my knowledge. And I don't
Yeah.
know if they're owned by Time Warner or whatever, but like I don't know like the ins and outs, but like eventually it's going to go the same way that cable did, where channels are being replaced by streaming services. And
Right.
so, whoever owns the rights to whatever has their own streaming service, it's going to be on that streaming service. Or they'll
For sure.
sell it off to other streaming services just for like a short period of time,
Yeah.
just to make a little bit of money. And that's just how it's going to go. And so
Yeah.
now and so that's going to kill Netflix because Netflix's only thing now is original content. And they make so much of it that it's just you can't keep up. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're
It's
eventually it's going to happen. They're going to do ads, and once they start to do ads, it's going to go down.
That'll be the downfall of it.
May mark my words. If they start doing ads and they're already charging you 15 to 17 bucks a month, people are going to leave the app in droves. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and
Telling
cracking
you.
down on password sharers. That they're digging their own grave at this point. Like I don't know. I don't know what's going on there in those meetings, but at any rate, I want to go back to your original point of keeping it simple with
Yeah.
with video game movies. I totally get that. I totally understand that. But the problem is, like I said, Hollywood's going to be like, well, Dawson needs to have a drug problem. He
Yeah,
He's
just
gotta
one
be.
character that just totally doesn't like he's a Buddhist.
Yeah, he's. I picked
He's
probably the worst character to have a drug problem, but
But that's so true though. They would totally do it. Like some producer that has like he only played like Street Fighter once because his kid had it, and he was like, I really like that guy with the stretchy arms.
yeah,
But we need more about his character. And what he's a Buddhist? Oh, that's not exciting. We need to give him some heroin.
yeah. What if they say, okay, he starts off as a heroin addict, but then becomes a Buddhist, and that's his big motivation to become a Buddhist. So that's the problem is they try to create these side stories, these dramatic situations to really hook in everyone, and then ultimately what they do is they just disappoint both the fans and the general population that will watch the movie.
Yeah, and I feel like what they did with the Sonic movie was brilliant. I don't. And this is what I mean. They didn't take it too seriously. It's funny. It's comedic. Like it's fun, and I
Yes.
think they did a great job with the casting. I
Yep.
I feel like I don't know the actor's name, but John Ralphio as
Oh,
Sonic was
yes.
perfect.
Yes.
Like I think his
He's
voice
great.
fits Sonic perfectly. Jim Carrey, come on, like
It's a
knocks
given.
it out of the
He's
park
Yep.
because like that a crazy villain, Jim Carrey, done. That's all you need. I mean, and it was great, and it wasn't
Y-
over the top, and it wasn't like it was fun. It was fun, and that's what
Yes.
and apparently the Pokemon movie was that way too.
It was, yeah. I went to see that in theaters, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I thought it probably could have been better, but still, for a video game movie, I'll say it was decent, and it was
Like
headed in the right
you didn't walk
direction.
away hating Pokemon at that point.
No, no, and the fact that they cast Ryan Reynolds, I mean, come on, that guy playing Pikachu, like, how can you not watch that movie? You know,
That's so like it makes sense and doesn't at the same time, but you're like, it's Ryan Reynolds. He can
but it
do no
works,
wrong.
and it somehow works, and it's like great. But crap, what?
And to be completely fair to Street Fighter,
Yeah,
I actually really enjoy the Jean Claude Van Damme one. That's just because anything that anything Jean Claude Van Damme, I'm just like I'm in.
he's so
I'm in.
likable. Yeah, he's a great. Oh my gosh, talk about great casting at that time. I mean, they got Raul Julia to play freaking what's his
And
name?
Bison.
And Bison, yes, freaking blanking out on the name. But yeah, I'm like, damn, that's
That
that's
was
a
his.
pretty.
You know what's sad? That was his last movie before he died of cancer.
I know. Yeah, that
That's
was
just
super
sad,
sad.
man.
Such a
And I'm
good
I'm just and
actor.
he had I saw an interview on the set of that because it was one of his last interviews before he succumbed. Um, he was talking about how he had no
His
idea what it was about.
How his
But
kids like
his kids
loved
were
it.
into it,
Yes. Yes, I
and his
saw
kids
that
were like
interview.
begging him to be M Bison. And even though, like, yes, it is a very silly movie, objectively speaking, it is a terrible movie. I get it. It is silly for silly's sake. But
Yeah.
I will challenge you and any other '90s kid that watched that movie when Ryu, whatever his name is, however you pronounce his name, Diu, it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
uh, when he did a Hadouken, Hadouken he was fighting Vega at in the little boxing green room or whatever, and he did
Yeah.
and he did that. I challenge any '90s kid you did not get up off your seat and was like yes, or
Yeah.
when Guile did the cyclone kick,
Yes, that was
you
awesome.
know,
Yeah.
like that's the moves in the game. I'm sold. I love this movie now because they they did the moves
I know. Yeah, like it was fan service, but it was done in a great way. And
at the
like
time.
yeah, at the
'90s
time,
fan service.
yeah, absolutely. And damn, now you got me thinking, man, of Mortal Kombat 94, man. Oh my gosh, that movie, man. That is the best bad movie but like in a good way. Like
Yeah,
at the time, man, as a kid seeing that like in theaters, like seeing the costumes of Sub-Zero and Scorpion when they first make their appearance, I'm like, "Oh shit, like this is the coolest freaking thing in the world." Like, and then, I mean, seeing Scorpion Spear as this sort of CGI'd, poor, super poor CGI, which is understandable for the time. But even
But
still,
having the thing come out of his palm, I think that,
yeah,
like, that's not in the game, but that's something that writers took liberty. But I'm here for that because that
absolutely.
was like super creepy. Just like, like
Yes.
ah,
You're like, "Oh
that's
my god, what is
awesome.
that?" Yeah, and they did that too
Scorpion.
with Reptile too, when Reptile squares off against Liu Kang, which is my favorite fight out of the whole movie. Because the freaking when that music kicks in, dude, oh my god, man. And the choreography, the fight choreography was amazing in that movie.
Yeah, they did. They did. That whole movie is great. Like in
Yeah,
'90s, you know, understand like growing up in that era, like that. First of all, the song, the Mortal Kombat song, if I remember correctly, was actually top 40 at one time.
I'm
Understand
sure.
something.
Yeah,
Understand something for a moment. That for a moment in time, a song based on a damn video games which were viewed in the '90s as a total waste of time. But Mortal Kombat came around and was a phenomenon, and this song comes out and screams Mortal Kombat, and just you can't help. Even today, you hear Mortal Kombat, you're ready to go through the friggin' wall.
I'm telling you. Yeah, it's like a freaking, it just pumps you up. What will pump you up more than hearing that freaking scream, man? And the fact that MK11, for the trailer, they released like their main trailer for the game, and they revamped that theme, and it sounded so freaking amazing. And I remember the top comment on YouTube was how to sell a game in 3 minutes. And it's so true. I'm like, I am throwing my money at this game just for them using that theme that was so
Dude, I'm
well
telling you,
remastered.
man.
Yeah.
That music can do that. Music can
Yeah.
especially again when you tell it's playing on like old nostalgic references, and I think that's why there's a big like resurgence of retro gaming occurring on TikTok right now. There's a giant community now because people want to get people want to experience what life was like during those times when
Sure.
life was a simpler time,
Oh,
simpler
yes.
time. um,
Absolutely.
but dude, that Mortal Kombat movie was so good. It was so good.
Now,
I
did you
I
see
want
the
to
new
watch it
one?
now. I did see the new one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Actually, hang on. Actually, no. I had a podcast about saying like it's actually a really bad movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So here is my deal about the
mm,
new Mortal Kombat movie. Okay, and
mm,
I understand like some people really enjoyed it.
yeah.
I was first of all, number one. If you're gonna make a Mortal Kombat movie, first thing, first thing, the fighting choreography has to be like top notch.
Yes.
I was not a fan of the fighting choreography. It was very slow. It was
Mhm.
very just like old cutaway kind of. It was just like not. It didn't feel like Daredevil's fight scenes, like in the show Daredevil,
Mhm.
were better. Like that's the top tier fight choreography, or like like Matrix.
Oh,
Like
Matrix. I
what
think of that right away.
yeah, what they did is like the actors, of course, did the slow, choreography slower so they don't hurt themselves, but then they would speed it up. They would speed
Right.
up, and it didn't look like they did that for this movie. Now I can understand like these people were actual martial artists, which is really cool. That's great, but for movie choreography, it just doesn't translate because they're
Mm.
not really fighting, so they're
Yeah.
pulling their punches and you felt that as you were watching the movie, and it disappointed me as a Mortal Kombat, watcher. I'm like, I want to see brutal, brutal, fast, awesome fighting choreography. So I didn't get that.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of writers taking liberty in this particular moment of like, hey, we have all these characters in Mortal Kombat. You know what would be fun? Let's make a new character,
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
he'll
Cole
be the
Young.
son of Scorpion, and we
Oh
don't
man.
see Scorpion for the whole movie until the
Yeah.
very end. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, and then when the main character finally had, this is total spoilers, by the way.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I should have called spoiler alert. I'll put
um,
up something. Yeah.
yeah, and then when he finally reveals his power, and it's like he's this armored dude with the batons or the whatever, which is fine, I guess. But then I'm like thinking to myself, dude, if you're gonna have like that sort of Power Ranger kind of outfit, then go full helmet, bro. Like
Yeah.
helmet. Like it's just that kind of like I wasn't a fan of the design, and I'm like, dude, your father was Scorpion. He had a mask. Like, where's yours?
Right. Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Um, I felt that that armor was a little underwhelming. When I was seeing like early screenshots of the movie and when like they were showing it, I'm like, what is this? You know, what are they what the hell are they doing? You know, like and I was at the time, okay, I was skeptical, and then the other side of me is like, just wait and watch the movie first before you go crazy, because if you're on Twitter, Mortal Kombat fans are pretty crazy. There's a lot of them that are, super
crazier than the Hornet
nitpicky.
community.
Oh, I don't know about that, man. The Hornet community is probably worse. But um, but yeah. So I was trying to really be patient with what they were throwing out. But then when I saw the movie, I'm like, Cole Young is not selling me. And I think Louis Tan is a fine actor. I think he's
Oh
good.
yeah,
And he's
he's the
like
best
a
part of that
martial
movie.
artist. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's great. But his
Wait.
character didn't.
Oh wait, yeah, sorry. What I forget is who's Scorpion? That actor. What is his name?
Oh,
I forget his
man,
name.
I'm gonna catch flack if I try to say his name, but
But yeah,
it's,
okay,
it's
but you know
he's a
what actor I'm
famous
talking about.
Japanese actor, a great actor.
He's
Uh,
fantastic.
he was
He's
also
he's
in
he's
Army of the Dead, that
yes.
recent zombie movie. Um, and when I saw he was playing Scorpion, I'm like, oh shit, awesome! They cast like a freaking Japanese actor. He's faithful to the character of Scorpion, but
And he's a
in
martial artist, and he
and
knows
he's a
what the
martial
fuck he's
artist.
doing.
Yes, but in the trailer, a lot of fans got pissed when he said "get over here," and it wasn't the dub from the movie, and it wasn't Ed Boon,
Yeah, I felt like that's the. I feel
because he
like
said
I'll
it
give
in a
him a pass.
Japanese accent. But it's like,
I'll
what do you expect? The
yeah,
guy's
I'll give him a
Japanese.
pass. Yeah, I'll give him a pass on that one because they're kind of stuck. It's like,
Yeah.
if they had went with the old, Scorpion, of which we all know and love, which was Ed Boon, like they would have gotten flack because he is a Japanese speaking man, and so they would have been like, oh, you're trying to westernize a Japanese, actor, and
Yeah,
that, because
that's
then
a good
then
point.
they'd be stuck there, and so they couldn't go that route. So they're like, you know what? It's this new movie. It's a new Scorpion. We're just gonna have him say it, and he said it okay. Like
I
he
thought
said it
so.
like he or
Yeah,
he had the growl, and I was like, you know what, that's passable. That is
right.
passable. And just because I'm a dumb American that's grown up with Ed Boon, like I can get over you know
Fun.
get over it. I can.
Right.
There's a little reference pun there. I can get over it really, fine. But like,
Yeah.
I didn't. That wasn't my beef with the movie. Like, I think he was the best part of that movie. The
Oh
whole the
yeah.
whole fight scene between Scorpion and Sub Zero was the best part of that movie. You know why?
So
Because it
good.
was probably the these really talented and seasoned um uh Japanese martial artists,
Yes.
that just knew what they were doing, and it just felt like the other fight scenes just didn't match that, didn't match the.
It didn't have that same vibe, that same energy, that like even the 94 movie gave, like the choreography from that. And it's funny because when I saw the trailer and I saw Sub-Zero freezing his blood and stabbing him with it, I'm like, yeah, this is Mortal Kombat, damn it.
Yeah,
Like that they nailed and was so creative. And I thought that was awesome. But it's funny, the writer of the movie played the games and he was like a fan, so
yeah,
I was like, oh shit, like
yeah,
they're doing all the right things here. But it's like you're saying, I think overall I just wasn't a fan of it. Goro, that was another thing. I was super hyped when I saw freaking that Goro was going to be in the movie. And then when I'm seeing the CGI of him and I'm seeing that he gets easily killed off, I'm like, he's fucking Goro, man. Like, he should be snapping like two characters' heads off, Like, and he gets killed by
yeah.
Cole Young, like the most hateable character out of all the. Like, come on.
He doesn't even have a like his name is Cole Young. It's not even like, like a cool name like Scorpion or Striker
I
or
know. Yeah.
like he hasn't even reached that point yet. It's just kind of like Cole Young. Like, what do we call you? Armor Man. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
armor. Yeah, I don't know. Suit. I
Oh
don't.
my gosh.
It was just.
It's
It was just. That part was so. I didn't. That was really disappointing. And
oh man.
I.
I think
Uh,
even the old Mortal Kombat announcer, he'd be like Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, and they'd be like, "Oh, Young." Like, what the hell?
but
Like this.
yeah. It. And you know what's funny in that movie? They talk about the tournament the whole time. Guess what? Doesn't happen in the movie.
Yeah,
The
doesn't
tournament.
no tournament, no tournament. Yeah, they're like, there's this great tournament, and then they're like, doesn't happen. Wait till the sequel. Oh my gosh, it did. So, all right, more spoilers here. A lot of characters got killed off, like a lot. Like I wasn't expecting freaking Melina to just get like a freaking Kamehameha blast through her chest. I'm like, what the hell? And she's like such a revered character. Like MK fans like simp over this character. Like they love her, and they're just like, fuck you, boom, done. And but it's funny because they ended that movie with the cliffhanger that the characters can come back. That Shang Tsung
Yeah.
can bring them back. And I think that's why they were killing off characters like I feel like George R. R. Martin had a hand in this damn movie. you know. It's so crazy.
Yeah. It was. It was. Uh, I'm. I'm thankful for the attempt.
Yes, me too. Absolutely.
Continue, movie producers and writers, please. Just be better.
Yeah. Just do
But
your
it was
best.
crazy. Like how is it? Maybe it's what we talked about before. It's like, remember when Machinima was a thing
Yes.
and they came out with the Street Fighter like show? Do you remember that? With
And they
it
had Red
starred
versus
Ken
Blue. They had a
and
bunch
Red
of like
versus
good
Blue. They had a bunch of
series.
stuff,
Yeah.
but they came out with Street Fighter starring Ryu and Ken, and it was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It was obviously low budget, but it was it was great because I guess they did again. They just didn't overthink it. So why is it that something like that, like gamers and everyone else, is like watches it and they go, "Yes, this is what I'm talking about," and they just cannot do it in the big screen. They just
I
cannot do that.
I think it's this whole passion. You get like the people who are passionate about it, but then you also get the greedy people who belong to these like movie studios, and they start to insert their crap because they're not creatives. You know, they're just people that love money, and they're like, oh no, we have to insert our stuff in here.
Yeah.
To kind of
Well,
shit on your passion.
what's fun, like what's an interesting YouTube rabbit hole to go through is Kevin Smith's, like, it's not stand up but sort of like sort of talks about just the movie industry in general, cuz
Yeah.
he's not a big movie, he loves movies, but he's not like this Hollywood kind of guy, but he's one of us, he's a
Yes.
big nerd. Like, that's what he grew up with, all these comic books and whatnot, and
Right.
he's had the benefit of working with Hollywood. And so he just goes on these talks and he talks about just like how producers just come into come into projects and start adding in things. He talks about Wild Wild West. I feel like, no, what does he talks about? Or is
The
it
Will
Kevin Smith
Smith
that talks
movie?
about it? But anyway, yeah, Wild Wild West. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes, this is Kevin Smith. So Kevin Smith talks about the Superman movie. He was actually a writer on the Superman Returns movie with Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
He was an original writer for it. And so he started working with this producer because the producer wanted to make another Superman movie with starring Nick Cage, and it was going to be done by Tim Burton.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so Tim Burton's Batman is he's gonna go into Superman. This is like late '90s, and so Kevin Smith is this writer and he's working with this producer, and they start talking about like the story and trying to write the script, and the producer is like, so yeah, Superman has this cape, right? We got to get rid of the cape.
What?
And so Kevin is like, it's kind of like his thing. It's kind of like, or was it? It was something like he had to do something with the cape, like even like make the cape like alive or something, and just make him. It's just yeah, it was just that kind of that stuff. But this is the kicker: he wanted a giant. It had to happen. The last boss of the movie had to be a giant spider.
What?
A giant spider. It didn't have to. It wasn't like Brainiac or anything else. Any other DC heroes. It had to be a giant spider. That was a non-negotiable,
No
apparently.
way.
And
Oh
he
my
could
gosh.
not stop hearing about this giant spider. And so eventually, Kevin was fired from being the writer, and so he went on and did his other things.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, and then the movie got canned. Okay, but then the producer did another movie called Wild Wild West with Will Smith,
Oh.
and guess who Will Smith fights at the end of that movie?
That animatronic
That
spider.
animatronic spider.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea. Wow. I'm so
Dude, I'm
glad you
telling you,
said this.
it is an awesome YouTube rabbit hole to go through. Is all of Kevin Smith's talks about Hollywood and just all of his his journey throughout the movie realm, because he
Yeah.
has a window into it. It's like our nerd friend has a nerd into how Hollywood works and thinks about these treasured things that we have. You
Yes.
know,
Oh
that's
my
what they
gosh.
do. That's what
Yeah.
they do. They just insert, I like spiders. Let's throw a spider in there.
And then Superman freaking flies up with a big boot or like raid. Like, what? Like, are you kidding me? That's awful. Like the fact that he's that persistent to then put it in that even like the Wild Wild West movie, like that's what that became.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and also there's an awesome documentary about that movie.
Yeah.
Cuz it was going to be a thing. There was ads about that movie, like Superman Returns, and Nicolas Cage was going to be, he had grown long hair, because
Yeah.
it was going to be the saga of his death but him returning. So like it was going to be that whole storyline, but with Tim Burton directing it, that'd be a very interesting and dark, weird Superman movie.
Could you
um
imagine a Tim
oh
Burton
yeah.
Superman movie? Like it would
uh,
be like freaking gory and like dark and gritty.
it'd
Like it
be
would be
dark and weird,
awesome.
and
Yeah.
when you watch the documentary you realize like that's what this it was going to be like, kind of whimsical dark, similar to how the old Batman movies were, but it was going to be Superman.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah.
would be, oh my god, that would be so cool.
Yeah, it
Like
was a great documentary.
wasn't Deadpool like the first R-rated superhero movie? Or I could
I
be totally off on that, but
I don't think the first, but I think one that was the most successful. The most
yes,
successful rated R superhero movie.
cuz it
Because
really
I
pushed
want to
boundaries
say
there.
that Punisher was a rated R
Oh,
movie.
yes, I forgot about
I think
Punisher.
all the Punishers were rated R, because like with the Punisher you kind of can't help but be
You
rated
can't
R.
have like a G-rated Punisher.
You can't have a even PG-13 rated. I mean, he just kills people. That's what
Yeah.
his thing is. Like he's like Dexter. Like he's like a
Yeah,
Dexter, except for not the old like maniacal, I want to slice you open kind of thing. But
right.
he will if he has to.
Right, yeah. You'd think a guy named Punisher, you know? But
Which
oh my
by the
gosh.
way, also great show by the way on Netflix. I think they did a fantastic job with
With
the Punisher
John
show.
Bernthal,
Oh yeah, like
he's
what
a
a
great
great
actor, that
casting.
guy. Oh man.
I mean, and perfect for the Punisher. Just like, oh, he's
Yeah.
so good at just like being mad. Like
He
it's
was
just
really serious
perfect.
about doing that character justice. He
Oh
in
yeah,
interviews he was saying like I'm not going to mess this up. Like he went all in with it and I
because
admire
he
that.
knows, he's young enough to know that nerd culture, nerds can get really. It will ruin your career. We will stop you. Like that's what happened with the Batman films.
Yep.
That's what Sad Affleck came from,
You're right. Yeah.
because the movie was so bad
Yep.
that it forced him to stop wanting to be Batman, which is awful. That is if you really think about it, like how sad is that? Like
Oh,
we were so mad that we forced this pretty generally nice dude. Like Affleck seems like a pretty cool guy,
sure.
and we just said, "Fuck you. Your your portrayal in this movie is awful. We want you to
Yeah.
stop being Batman." It was just
It makes you
I feel
wonder
bad
what,
for him.
like, Robert Pattinson was thinking taking the role with the pressure of being a good Batman, you know?
I gotta go here in a few minutes, but I want to
Oh, yeah,
end
sure.
on this movie because we just watched it. Me and my
Mhm.
wife just watched The Batman. She wasn't a fan of it. I was a fan of it,
Yeah.
which is interesting because that is exactly the dynamic that movie is getting right now. It's
Yeah.
either people like it and like really are into it, or people that are just kind of like, not for me, or hate it. You know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and that dynamic is interesting to me because you don't really hear that. You either love it or hate it. It's just
Right.
like, you know, I feel like that movie, spoilers, by the way, spoilers for the Batman,
Yep.
okay? We are getting into spoiler territory. I feel like that movie did that particular moment in time for Batman justice
Mhm.
and vengeance.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That was
I had to
perfect.
throw that in there.
Had to do it, yeah.
I had to. Because like they tell you right at the beginning of the movie, like he's only 2 years into this whole Batman thing,
Yeah.
and people do not trust this caped crusader kind of guy, and like he's still feeling the mental effects of not seeing his parents die and the post traumatic stress that is, he's turning this whole like vengeance thing, and that's what Batman was like. He was vengeful, like that was his whole thing. It's like, I'm going to forcefully fix this city by beating the hell out of every criminal organization I possibly can and screw Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
you know? And I love that. And like Robert Pattinson plays emo pretty damn well. And
Mhm.
so for that particular moment in Batman's life, I think that's perfect. Like that's because that's an emo, like, yeah, he saw his parents die. Yeah, he's gonna be a little quiet.
Right, yeah, I think he's gonna have a few issues, so oh
And
my
I
gosh.
liked his look. Like I liked his stare into the camera. Like,
Yeah.
you have to nail that stare. You have to, because like he's just staring at, like, there's a deleted scene, by the way, on YouTube with him and the Joker. Watch it. It's awesome.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
yeah, you see the Joker, what their version of the Joker is, and guess what? It's actually pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But and his jawline's perfect. Gotta have the good. You gotta have a good jawline. If you notice, every Batman person has a very distinct jawline because
Mm,
that's all you see basically of him.
yeah, that's a
But
good
yeah,
point.
I liked the movie. I did enjoy. Is it my favorite? I don't know yet. I need to watch it a couple more times because The Dark Knight is like the tops, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's just like, it's gonna be hard to beat that. But
I
I feel
knew it
like the
wasn't gonna top
Batman
that, yeah.
the Batman was like, okay, like we're getting there. Like
Yeah,
I'm into this. Let's see another sequel, see what they do.
definitely up there for sure. But yeah, it's like you said, like I feel like I need to watch it like a few more times to really get a full like my full experience of it, you know. And but Shane, I'm so sorry. My podcasts usually end after 1 hour, and we have hit 2 hours of it. No, trust me, this has been an amazing episode, and freaking had a blast with this one, man. And if you have anything to plug or promote, now would be
Oh
the time for
yes.
sure.
So yes, follow me on TikTok, which is where I spend most of my time in the social media aspect of my life. Is TikTok, WiseDrums at TikTok, and follow me on my Twitch channel. It's also WiseDrums at twitch.tv. My YouTube channel, WiseDrums. I have my podcast on there, Explicit Materia, which I interview and talk to just a whole bunch of content creators. Which I'm glad to have Alex on here soon. Hopefully, he will reciprocate
Uh,
the invite.
a
And
hundred
yeah,
percent, man.
I am. Thank you so much for having me on, man. This has been a blast, and it's been fun, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, man. And everybody, just rate and review the show if you can. And definitely check Shane out. I mean, he's putting out great content and he's a super talented drummer. So please check him out. And thank you guys for watching or listening. And we'll check you out in the next one. Bye now.